Welcome back to Sip the Tyler Films. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today we want to take a look at an article from The Athletic by none other than Jeff Zrebiec. Jeff say the Ravens beat reporter for The Athletic provides us with a bunch of content that the average Joe can't get. Even goes on Twitter and is responsive to certain fans that ask questions and seems like an overall good dude. He put this article up and I've looked at a couple of the questions, but I decided to bring it here so we can kind of look at them together and I can see what his questions are, the answers to his questions, give my 2 cents on said questions, and then look in the comment sections for you guys' reaction to those questions as well. So I look forward to actually reading the comments after this video is over to see if you agree or disagree with what I have to say. So before we get into the questions, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified when the rest of this content comes out. The veterans report next week. Rookies are already there. And as soon as we start getting content where the reporters can be there and provide us with some stuff, I'll be giving you my 2 cents on everything that I saw with this 2025 Baltimore Ravens football season. So I appreciate you guys coming out. And in case you forgot, on two, ready, break. All right, now let's take a look at this article, and it's entitled "The 10 Biggest Storylines Entering Ravens Training Camp." Got a picture of Lamar right there, but let's dive on into it. All right, question 1: who will win the kicking competition? And we know what. Well, I'll just read it. It says when you have a Super Bowl caliber roster and the Pro Bowl performers at just about every other position, a shaky kicker situation will garner a lot of attention. When 2 rookies, a 6th round pick, and an undrafted free agent are getting first opportunity to replace Justin Tucker, the most accurate kicker in NFL history, there's going to be a ton of scrutiny. The Ravens haven't had a kicking competition since 2012 when Tucker beat out incumbent Billy Cunningham for the job, until Tucker's struggles last season when the Ravens hadn't faced any kicker questions omnipresent in other NFL cities for over a decade. That and the fact that the Ravens don't have much roster was the intrigue. Elsewhere means the expected summer competition between 6th round pick Tyler Loop and rookie free agent John Horland will be the most discussed daily stories in camp. Hold on, let me scroll down. Says Loop remains the favorite for the job despite shaky performances during OTAs and mandatory minicamp. However, what matters is how he and Horland perform in training camp and in the preseason games. And yes, plenty eyes will be watching. So my 2 cents on this is I think Luke will win it. Unless he just goes out and just has the yips in training camp. They spend draft capital on him. So he's gonna, no matter how good Horland is, Loop's gonna have a little bit more of an advantage because they spent draft capital on him. So I hope he can grab it by the reins and take that job and make it his. And we won't have to worry about another kicker for a decade again. So hopefully, we can get that out of Loop. And if not, do what it takes to have this kicker spot figured out by November. And hopefully the kicker spot this year don't cost us games like it cost us last year. Or some of those playoff games could have been in Baltimore. All right, second question. Will the Ravens be able to extend Lamar Jackson or anyone else? And it says with Jackson's salary cap number rising to $74.5 million next year, and the list of Baltimore's 2026 unrestricted free agents, including names like Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Tyler Linderbaum, Odafe Owe, Travis Jones, Calvin Noy, and Pat Ricard. Next offseason could be quite audacious for General Manager Eric DeCosta in the front office. So before we go on to the rest of it, I'm going to say, out of those lists of names that are unrestricted free agents next year who I see us keeping: Isaiah Likely, Tyler Linderbaum, Travis Jones. I don't expect the rest of those guys to be on the team after next year. I don't. So I think Mark will be gone. I think Owe will be gone. I think Van Noy will be gone. Van Noy may retire. And then I think Pat Ricardo will be gone because it's just, unless he, sounds like 1 or 2 million. But let's see what else they say about Lamar Jackson. Most contract talks are tabled once the regular season begins, so Eric DeCosta and Baltimore's chief negotiator, Nick Mateo, essentially have 2 months to check off a few important items from next season's media to-do list, next offseason's media to-do list. 2-time MVP Jackson represents the most significant piece of business. If the Ravens can't agree on a contract extension with the quarterback before the start of the new league year in March, his cap number, which rises by more than $30 million in 2026, will make it nearly impossible for Baltimore to keep the nucleus of his roster together. Jackson will have even more leverage in contract talks with each passing month. And let's not forget about the collusion thing too. So I don't know how much Baltimore is at fault for following directions from their boss to do certain things. So not that I say they participated in the collusion, but when your boss is telling you, hey, you need to do X, Y, Z, you probably need to do X, Y, Z if you want to keep your standard. Because most people don't know NFL is a private business. It's not public. Most people think it's public and they, subject to certain scrutiny, but it's a private business. And if the one running the private business say, hey, go sweep in that corner, you probably better go sweep in that corner. So that's why I ain't really made a bunch of videos about the Ravens being involved in the collusion, but the actual NFL and the NFLPA doing their thing. That's why I really haven't put much of any blame on Baltimore. And they may have some, I just don't know about it, but that's just my 2 cents on the collusion thing. I think it's more of a big picture situation than necessarily just a Ravens thing. It just happened to be the 2 pawns in this thing just happened to be Lamar and the Ravens, in my opinion. All right, question number 3. What does the Jackson-Monken partnership have in store for year 3? Now, this is a good one. It ain't a lot of teams. When you're winning, you get to keep your coordinators. This will be Lamar's 3rd year with Todd Monken. They've gotten better and better each year, and I expect this year to be no different. I expect them to soar to an offensive height we haven't seen, with the RPOs, with the run game, with the play action run game, with the under center play action run game, with and then still there's stuff that we have built Lamar on, the zone read stuff, jet sweep, power read when you need it, and then his elevated passing is icing on the cake. So just more familiarity. They can add on to what they've already done. So they got like the base in year 1. They was able to stack on the base in year 2, and that produced probably the best offensive team in the NFL. And now year 3, he got better weapons because Bateman is starting to come into his own. Derrick Henry, you got Justice Hill, you got Keaton back at full strength, you got D-Hop, you got Likely ready to take over and be tight end 1, you got Mark that still play at a high level. You got weapons. The only thing Lamar don't have, which I think the pieces can equal up to that, is a true solid number 1 guy. That's it. But I'm not saying that to say he won't have an incredible year. I'm just saying that's the only thing, in my opinion, he don't have offensively, and a great offensive line. The offensive line is, we know what that is. But let's see what Jeff had to say about it. All the Ravens did, obviously, offensively last year was lead the league in defense adjusted value over average, DVOA. And that's one of those analytic stats that have kind of crept into football right now. Overall yards per game and rushing yards per game, and they finished 3rd in points per game. Jackson didn't win his 3rd MVP, but he had arguably the best season of his career. Monken didn't get a head coaching job, but garnered multiple interviews for the 2nd straight year. The Ravens returned 10 of 11 offensive starters from last season and added to the prolific group this season by signing potential Hall of Famer DeAndre Hopkins and welcoming back a now healthy Keaton Mitchell. Thus, expectations are incredibly high. And Jeff is really just saying some of the stuff I threw off the top of the dome before I started reading it. But I'm excited to see what this offense can do. This offense can put pressure on a lot of defenses in a lot of different ways. And literally, and a lot of times this is just coach speak, but this offense can literally make you defend every blade of grass, vertically and horizontally. That's how diverse. I didn't even mention Pat Ricard. I love the role that Pat is in now with Monken. I feel like he did too much with Roman, but with Monken, his role is I won't say perfect, but it fits very, very well. And then you throw him a bone with a carry or a ball in the flat every now and then, and he just goes smash faces the rest of the game. And I love it. And he don't, where he at, don't give away where the ball is going anymore either. All right, let's go to question 4. It says, is DeCosta content enough with the roster to stand pat? The Ravens GM has built what many pundits consider one of the league's best and deepest rosters. But that doesn't mean there aren't areas that still wouldn't benefit from the addition of a veteran. Baltimore certainly could use a number 3 safety to play behind Hamilton and Malachi Starks. The addition of an interior. Hold on, just let me stick with that. All right, so Malachi, Hamilton, Darius got hurt, so he's out of the mix for now. And so you're looking at your 2 young bucks, Snoozy Kane and Bo Braid, to be the 3rd safety at this point. Now, if they show early in camp that, hey, they can't do it, I don't know how much money we have, but I would try to snatch Simmons up before he gone, if he ain't gone by the time I put this out. And that's my thinking on it right there. To finish that paragraph, the addition of an interior offense and defensive lineman will solidify the Ravens in the trenches. I don't know what offensive linemen are out there right now that would help us, because offensive linemen are hard to come by in the first place, and to go pick up one off the street that would help you, I don't know at this point how that would help us. Now, a trade maybe, but as far as grabbing a guy off the street, it may or may not help. Maybe a guy that got injured and has kind of been discarded and is healthy now, maybe. And a defensive lineman, you might can find a defensive lineman out there. You might. But I think we got enough up front on the defensive line. I think we need help. And if we're going to find some help, it needs to be on that offensive line. But we brought guys in to kind of help, if Falele and if Ben Cleveland and if Voorhees ain't it, you got some veteran guys that you can maybe give a shot and see what they can do. We'll talk more about the actual roster later on, probably next week. DeCosta has had success adding to his roster late in the offseason. During training camp and even early in the regular season, he acquired quality veterans such as Clowney and Van Noy and Justin Houston and Ron Darby at that time frame. The Ravens don't have a lot of salary cap to work with, a lot of salary cap space to work with. I think we got $2-3 million. But they could benefit from veterans wanting to find work before September and willing to drop their asking prices to join the contender. Now, that's what I think they're doing, trying to wait out Justin Simmons. It says among the top available free agents, Zadarius Smith, that would help. Judon definitely would help. I really wouldn't mind Judon coming back, really. Brandon Scherz was good at one point. Linval Joseph can be a nose tackle that can kind of, keep Roquan and whoever is the second linebacker free. And then safety Justin Simmons is the guy that I would look into. But when you throw names up there like Justin Simmons and Julian Blackmon, and I don't know a lot about Julian Blackmon, I think he used to play for the Colts. Julian Blackmon would probably be the guy we end up with, because that's kind of how we do. We get if it's a good one and an average one, we normally get the average one. I don't know why, but it is what it is. We just happened to hit with Clowney and Van Noy that year that we picked them up. All right, question 5. Well, we'll finish with this one right here. Even though it's 10 more, but we'll finish with this one. Will everything remain status quo with Andrews? There are a ton of folks, myself included. I know this is a no gray area topic for a lot of people. I think the likeliest time is now. I do. And with that being said, I don't say discard Mark. Mark is still a vital part of what the Baltimore Ravens offense is. I just think Likely should be the featured guy because of how explosive he is. You don't lose anything blocking. You get a more athletic guy. I think the toughness is the same for there. You get a better contested catch guy. You get a better route runner. You get a guy that with some wiggle that can get you something after the catch. I just don't see how, other than loyalty, that Likely is not the starter at or the most snapped, the tight end getting the most snaps in 2025. And this is not me crapping on Mark. This is me just saying Likely's better than him as of 7/18/2025. That's what that is. So let's see what Jeff had to say. After months of speculation that he'd either be traded or released, the veteran tight end is preparing for his 8th season in Baltimore. Andrews, who was assessed much of the outside blame for the team's loss in Buffalo. Now, a lot of people focus on the drop pass, and the drop 2-point conversion was crucial. There was an earlier drop that bothered me more, and that fumble. And anytime people, talk bad about Mark, they want to bring up what Lamar did in the first half with the interception and the fumble. Fine. But the mistakes, I don't want to say no mistakes are better or worse than others, but the time they happen matter too. If I'm hooping, if I'm a hooper, and it take me a minute to get warm, if I miss my first 5 threes in the first half, and then I hit my last 5 in the fourth quarter, who gives a crap about them first 5? Nobody. So the big thing is when the mistakes happen. And Mark's mistakes happen and would be quote unquote clutch time. Lamar showed that he can bring the team back, that he can kind of, do things to compensate for the mistakes he made early in the game. And when it was nut cutting time, Mark just didn't produce. And at this point, I'm willing to forget about that. Let's move on to this year, and let's hopefully have a successful season all the way to February. So, I know it's there, it's there, but we need to move forward from here on out, and hopefully Likely will be the tight end one. But let's finish this up. It says he has taken a business as usual approach as he enters the final year of his contract. He attended all of Baltimore's offseason workouts, and as usual, he was going all out in every play. The Ravens received trade interest in Andrews during the offseason, but no team matched Baltimore's asking price, which I'm hoping that's at least a second or a third at that point. Ravens decision makers and Baltimore's franchise quarterback believe that they are a better team with Andrews on the field. I have to believe they are a better team with Andrews on the team, and not necessarily on the field. And eventually he'll be on the field with what I'm trying to say. But I think it's back to me saying Likely is, in my eyes, the guy. And then the last paragraph up under this question. However, what happens this summer if a team loses its starting tight end to an injury and calls the Ravens with a legitimate offer for Andrews? And would Andrews be welcome to move somewhere else if he concludes that Likely is Baltimore's long-term plans? It's a no-brainer to me. It's a no-brainer. And is the acquiring team willing to give him an extension? That would help out too. But I just let it play out. Especially with us having as good a roster we are. Let just play the season out. And at the end of it, hey, Mark, thank you for everything you've done for Baltimore. Your contract run out. We can't sign you unless you're willing to take a nice cut. That's where I'm at. And as far as, Kolar is our best blocker. Out of the 3, Kolar is the best blocker. Him and Ricard. So, with Mark leaving, that may open up the door to keep Ricard. Like I mentioned earlier, Ricard may be gone. But if Mark leaves, that may open the door for that. So I know they said 10 questions, but we sitting at 5 and it's 20 minutes in. So I'm going to cut this off right here, man. I appreciate y'all for coming out. You could have been anywhere in the world. Like the video if you like it. If you're new here, you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hit the bell so you'll be notified when this content comes out. And don't forget, you can join the Patreon for a bunch of stuff that'll be over there during the season. And the Patreons know when the season like kicks off, they get a lot more stuff, and the members will get it as well. And so do a membership on the Patreon and be ready for the season to start, and get ready to lock in all this content that's coming in 2025. Can't wait for the live streams to start back, the call-in shows and all that stuff. And once we get all the veterans there, we'll have another call-in show to see what everybody's expectations are for the 2025 season. Again, enjoy the rest of y'all day. Peace and love.